Hello and welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Leyton. California has the largest populations of veterans in the country, so the job of finding them jobs when they get home is a big one. With us now is Senator Lou Correa to talk about what he sees is going on and what can be done.
Well, thank you, Leslie, for having me here today. And that is a big issue to me, and I think to all of us, which is taking care of the veterans. As we say, all gave some, and a lot of those veterans are now coming back to make California their home. We are today home to the biggest number of veterans in this great country, and we expect to have many more veterans coming back from Afghanistan as well as Iraq. So the question is, how do we integrate them back into our society?
You recently initiated an audit looking into our state's employment development services to see how they are doing in servicing veterans, and you found out it's really not so great.
Yeah, the state of California has what we call the EDD department, which is Employment Development Department. Job is essentially to give people jobs. And the question I asked, or the audit asked, are you doing the job you're supposed to do for veterans? And the answer was probably not. First of all, they didn't have the numbers to show us who they were servicing or whether they were targeting the right folks. So what it tells me is we've got to go back and find out what is it that you're doing for whom. Because the needs for the veterans 20 years ago are not the same needs for veterans today. And I will give you an example. Clearly, all of us prioritize veterans. So you have a job opening at the EDD. Should veterans have the first crack at that job? The answer is yes, but do they? And those are some of the questions we're going to answer today. And having the first crack at that job, does that mean you keep it open for 2 hours or a day before everybody looks at it? Or do you get the veteran ready with his resume for his qualifications so he's the first person actually to apply for the job?
Well, you found that through the audit that the department is really missing the mark in a lot of ways. They aren't servicing them. Even identity theft is a huge problem. So what are some of the things that you would like to see done, to get this in line, to get this right?
Clearly, we are going to go back and look at the way the state of California addresses the needs of veterans. And I'll give you another example, a classical one that we're dealing with. And this is going to be part of my legislative package next year, which is when a veteran comes back from serving his great country, and for example, he's been driving a tank or a big rig overseas, can he do the same thing in the state of California? The answer is no. He's got to have a license to operate big machinery. And the question is, how quickly can we get him that license? Those are little things we're going to try to calibrate to make the life of the veterans, the integration into our society better.
So some sort of testing or a fast track for maybe medics into the medical field and truck drivers into the trucking field, things like that. That's
specific, but if you look at the big picture, we have our homework cut out for us when it comes to veterans. From housing to employment, to make sure that they come, we train them to be warriors, and then when they come back, they may have psychological challenges. And so we've got to do the whole picture. And it starts with you, starts with me. Not with the state, not with the feds, not with the city, but with you and me. Meaning, when we see a veteran, do we let him stand in the front of the line? And that's where the attitude begins to change, and that's where we as a society begin to welcome veterans back.
All right. So you say that you're going to introduce some bills that are going to be specific on this. What would they look like?
Well, essentially what we want to do is make sure that the legislation is there that says, number one, when it comes to housing, that we take care of the veterans. Are there any monies there that haven't been used? Can we use them for veterans? Number two, psychological services. When veterans come back, they're not able to reintegrate with their families. What services can we give them? When veterans come back and need a job, again, we've talked about this, how can we get them to the front of the line? And not only myself, but there are other legislators, so we're all looking at doing the right thing.
Okay, Senator Lou Correa, nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Leslie Leyton.